come with free shipping every day. So you'll not only get the color right, you'll also get the color right to your door. Shipped for free. Get free shipping on paint samples and peace of mind on your next paint project. Only from the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Online samples only.
At the KSMO studios here at 1340, we have Gina Daniels with us on our spotlight on the Salem Memorial District Hospital. It's Physical Therapy Month. Hey,
good morning, Stan.
How are you, girl?
You today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. And this is kind of a busy month at the hospital with the mammography and breast cancer awareness month, and now and Physical Therapy Month. And you guys are growing, and you guys are busy.
Speaking of the mammography,
yeah.
I added to the volume last week and had my mammogram done.
Very good.
Julie did a great job, so sweet and kind, and felt, made me feel at ease, and, so excited that that's just another added service that we can give to the community. I'm a Raleigh girl by, growing up,
right.
But I've been out here at Salem Hospital 23 years. So I say Salem's kind of my adopted home. I love this community and have no desire to be working anywhere else. I've seen a lot of changes over 23 years out at the hospital. I feel like we've always provided great care, but I'm just, the culture of the hospital is changing some, and it's a wonderful, great, fun place to work, and it just kind of feels like home.
It's updating all the time, and it has to, because the technology in the medical profession is changing. Even in your guys' profession, everything continues to change, and there's better ways of doing things, and you guys are constantly on top of that. Lots of different types of therapies we have out there. We talk about physical therapy, but there's occupational therapy,
right.
There's speech therapy, and there really is a lot more to it than I think what people sometimes think, and you might need all three.
It amazes me that there are still people, I primarily, as far as patient care, provide home health services,
right.
Physical therapy,
right.
And but it still amazes me that people will stop me and not realize the services that an outpatient, the outpatient clinic that we have available, and we're growing. There's still lots of opportunity for growth in that department. We see everything from, hand injuries
right.
to we have our occupational therapist is lymphedema certified, so we see a lot of swelling, things that otherwise would not be provided to the community. We do great work out there, and I feel like we have a fun group of people. You can hear laughter. You can, people come to us that are not always feeling so great.
Usually there's some pain somewhere.
Pain just has a tend to make us a little bit of grouchy, has a grouchy side to it. But if I feel like we do the best job we can at making people feel comfortable and educating them. Knowledge has a lot of value.
Right.
So we were talking about that a few minutes ago,
right.
of knowing your body and
right.
listening to your body. Our body gives us a whole lot of signs, and we don't always use common sense and listen to it.
We sometimes listen to other people and what works for them and try and make that work for ourselves. And sometimes that just doesn't work. And you do need to pay attention. We were talking a little bit about it right now, this time of year. We're going to be starting to go from hot to cold, and a lot of people are going to be affected. Anybody that has arthritis knows you're going to start feeling this, and the change is going to start really happening today as we start to cool down tonight. People start feeling these things. You need to know how you're going to react to it. When the weather changes, when the rains come, when different things, and everybody can tell you, no, I can tell you it's going to rain 2 days from now because I can feel it in my knees or my elbows or
right.
wherever it is. And that's the truth, because that's how your body reacts to it. That's the nature of the human being. Just like animals in nature know when something's happening. They know it. It's not something you get educated on, but you can find out what works for your body. We were talking about, when Gina and I were talking about, I cut grass last night, walking, and my knee swelled a little bit, but my arthritis in my left knee really hurt bad. A lot of people just go put heat on that because it's arthritis. And I said, I put ice, and so it worked well for me. And then the pain stopped, and I was able to go back to sleep.
You know, we're only, I use the example a lot of times, we're only given one body. So we have to be good stewards of our body and
Exactly.
take care of our body. It's like a potted plant. You know, if you put it in, if you don't take good care of it, you put it in thin or rocky soil,
Or sandy soil, too
or
much
you
sand,
forget
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you know, or you ignore it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as, doesn't give you as good a return than if you gave it a lot of love and miracle grow. So we, you know, part of our job, huge part of our job is educating people. And this time of year, as things get cooler, people are not as active. We, over the winter months, we see a lot of, physical therapy wise, we see a lot of movement disorders where people aren't as active, so they're not walking as much. You notice more of a shuffle,
Right.
you know, a shuffle to people's walk, or posture type problems where they're, you know, flexed forward a little bit. All of those things can play a role in that loss of function over those winter months. We see a lot more falls because of inactivity, and people weaken, not just, you know, Parkinson's or dementia where, you know, we naturally lose some of that
Sure,
mobility.
sure.
But just the weather does play a big role in that.
sometimes
We're
it
not
does.
as active. You're not going to be mowing as much grass
No, I
over the
won't be.
next few months.
Hopefully not
so
shoveling snow either. Not too much of that, but
You'll definitely
Yeah.
feel it in your joints
yes,
the
you
mornings
will.
after that
Yes,
as
you
well.
will. Well, but you go back to something you just said, and I think it's very important. Education. You're trying to educate the patients because you do. You know, if somebody has surgery or hitting something else, they can't just go back and do what they originally did. You have to work that knee back to the strength. You got to get it back to where it was before you can do what you used to do. And some people, and Gina, I'll be honest with you, probably about 99.9% of people would probably do it wrong if they just came out on their own and tried to do it. That's where you guys come in.
It is so important when you've had an injury to kind of have a tour guide through that, so that your recovery, your exercise progression, everything is done properly. You jump ahead a few steps and it can really harm you. And it's hard sometimes to understand that, but it is a lot less painful to do it the proper way
Right.
and to have a graded progression. And that's our expertise. We know how to push and when not to push, and sometimes we have to reel people back. You know, we have those big go-getters that think, you know, they can be
I can do
Superman
it.
or Superwoman,
Yep, I can do it.
and no pain, no gain, push right through it. Sometimes that is not the most healthy approach.
Well, especially if you've had a surgery or something of that nature, because no pain, no gain comes from when you're younger, and there's nothing wrong with it. And now all of a sudden, maybe you've had cartilage taken out, or you had this taken out, or this has been changed, or you had surgery to maybe remove a cyst or something of that nature. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but if that cyst happens to be in a joint, it can be a big thing, because that cyst has been growing for a long time, and you've been living with it for a long time. Take it out, you just can't go back to throwing the ball, raking the yard or whatever. You've got to work that back. You've got to get that. All those muscles have to get back to where they used to be.
Soft
Different things.
tissue is so much slower to heal than bone. So a lot of times you would think that if you fractured your ankle,
Right.
that would be terrible. But a very severe sprain of an ankle actually takes a lot longer to heal and recover from than if a bone was to break.
And that's when you really need somebody that knows what they're doing, because so many people that sprain their ankle, they they'll wrap it, they'll do the right thing, they'll put a little ice on it, takes the swelling down. but it hasn't corrected the problem,
Right.
So they need to go get it corrected so you guys can check it out and say, okay, let's see what your range of mobility is. Let's see, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Because a lot of times people just go right back out of there and do it, and then they hurt it even worse.
A lot of injuries come from muscle imbalance. So, if we would exercise and strengthen up one side and not the other, and you have one real strong and one weaker, you're just putting those joints in that area at higher risk of injury. So it's unusual to ever hear someone have one ankle sprain because most often they're not strengthening it back up correctly to prevent it from re-injuring. So then they step off the curb at the grocery store and they're right back to another sprain.
Let's also talk a little bit about when people do get injured, Gina, and I know you probably see this all the time. Maybe they injure an ankle or they injure a knee, or maybe they think they've injured a knee, and maybe it's actually their hip that they've maybe fell a little bit, forgot they fell. Maybe they didn't do a lot of damage, but it swelled a little bit. Now all of a sudden their knee hurts because they're walking different because their hip hurt, so they changed their stride. Now the knee doesn't react right, and maybe the other ankle now starting to hurt. Your body works, and everything works in tandem, doesn't it? When it's all working correctly, everything works perfectly. You throw something out, and then everything goes out, right?
We always assess above and below, so to speak. So
Okay.
it would, if you came in with a knee injury or knee pain, we wouldn't be looking at the whole picture if we didn't assess your hip, your back, your ankle,
Right.
because it does all play a role. And a lot of times we can find that if there are other injuries or other weaknesses in muscles above or below, it is definitely contributing to
The pain.
that pain. And you can't just fix one area and expect it to always be the complete answer.
But you see so many TV commercials, or you hear about commercials, oh, just go get this knee wrap, put it on, and it'll work fine, or just do this, and it'll work fine. That's not always the case, is it?
There are times
That it
that
is.
some bracing can be helpful, but what happens is our body then depends upon that brace to give that stability. So the muscles get a little bit lazy and they're not doing their job of stability. So when the brace comes off, you actually sometimes have more weakness.
Yeah.
And it's just important to not depend. People use that a lot, back bracing for lifting and different things. But then when they take the brace off and, they've been down in the fridge to get the gallon of milk out, then they have injuries because that support is
Isn't
not
there.
there.
Yeah.
So bracing can be used in an acute injury or something that may need additional stabilization. But I don't like to use them long term if we can supplement it with some strengthening, because functionally, that's what's best for
You.
someone.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure, when you guys spot different things, when people have injuries and things of that nature, sometimes the improper way of lifting is what caused the injury, and you teach the people the proper way of lifting. Do it the right way, guys. Don't bend over and try to pick something up. Squat down, pick it up, and take the pressure off your back. Different things like that nature,
Right.
especially when it comes to back injuries. We all know back injuries can be just demoralizing. They can just make you feel horrible. But you guys deal with all the different types of injuries. We talked about the different speech therapy and occupational therapy. There are so many different things you guys do. But since you guys moved to POB2, you guys seem to have a real good philosophy of what goes on down there, because you're right. I can hear people laughing and talking and joking around in there. So, people are getting the treatment. You guys are keeping it light, which makes the healing faster, because if you're going through it, you're walking right through it with them, but at the same time, you're letting them know you're doing good. You're doing good. You just got to keep going. And that's really important, because when people are happier, they will heal quicker.
Well,
They do.
you're right. You're right. But I feel that we have such a great team of approach out there, and I get compliments, people that stop me all the time, and I'm proud of that. We've we've worked. When I came 23 years ago, it was myself and one other therapist, and we are we're growing, and we're able to provide more services for the community, and that's what it's all about.
And physical therapy is on campus, but it's also off campus.
Right.
Yeah,
You
so
know, as
you
far
guys-
as home health,
Yeah.
yes, we're traveling, and right now we're traveling all over. But that is what Salem Hospital wants to do. We want to, give better access to care for the
Right.
people in this community. I feel like we're more visible in the community, and the desire is to provide, great patient-centered care, and at the same time grow in the areas that we can, and and be there for our community.
Just
So
continue to progress. And really,
it's really important, and I have people tell me that they didn't realize that we as patients have a choice of where we go.
Sure. You can have your surgery in Columbia, Springfield, or St. Louis, but you don't have to stay there.
Right. At the hospital, we have the swing bed program, and a lot of our referrals come from people that have had surgery in bigger cities.
Right.
And yes, they could stay there in those larger cities for an extended therapy program, but there is it's more convenient for their family.
Exactly.
And there's something about feeling home, being closer to home, and the nurses, and the people. Someone knows someone in your family, and that gives you that sense of security and confidence. And
calmness, too. It just kind of makes you relax more, doesn't it?
We have such a good continuum of care.
Right.
That's one thing I love about our department, is because we'll see people as an inpatient, and then I go see them at home, and I know the therapists that have worked with them as an inpatient. I've already talked to them, gotten information that can help me help them in home, and then if they get doing really well at home, but they're not quite back to their prior level of function, or they're not as strong as they still have the potential to be, then we can move them toward an outpatient clinic, and it's just a great circle and communication and care for that patient. So
one of the things that you guys are really good at, and I know patients, if it be like me, are impatient. It's an impatient patient because, okay, I've got this surgery done. I want to be able to be doing what I used to do
yesterday.
Now, right now. So when you come in, let's do 2 or 3 sessions, and I'll be ready to go. The misconception is that you think you can do that. That's not practical. And the thing is, what you guys do the best is explain it to people and say, look, give it time. Be patient. Let's get it done right, like we were talking about earlier. And you really do relate to the patient on a one-on-one basis. This isn't like you're in a big hospital where you see somebody flash by. Okay, you guys do this, and then you go on to somebody else. You guys are right there with them. That's what makes it so personal here at Salem Hospital, because it is personal. You guys
it's direct one-on-one
take
care.
a personal interest. Exactly. And that is the most incredible thing that I've ever seen at this hospital. You get to know the people that you see. It's not this person this week and another person the next week and a following, and you never see the same face. And you're a number. You go to these bigger places. At Salem Hospital, they know your name, they know your family, they know where you live, and they know what you're going through, and they're going to work with you through that one-on-one. And that is so important, because people need to be, as I was saying before, relaxed and comfortable with who they're dealing with.
We're like the plant, Stan. We all need our fertilizer, and we need our tender loving care, and that is how we end up with a good outcome.
There you go.
Nobody goes through a surgery and is hoping for a bad outcome. We want the best outcome that we can get.
Right.
So that's what we try to provide. That's what we pride ourselves in.
It's pretty important, and as you mentioned, you're growing and growing and growing. And as Gene and I were talking about before we came on the air, every time I see these hospital, the meetings and the numbers that you guys continue to see, and they just, I remember 10 years ago, maybe 250, 300 people, maybe. Now it's 700, 800. I'm thinking, holy
Well,
cow.
hold on, Stan,
You
because
know-
I expect to continue that growth.
Right, but it has continued, and it just gets better and better and better, and that's great. And we do want people to understand, if you have a problem like this, or you have an issue, get with the Salem Hospital and talk to your primary care physician. Maybe you don't need surgery, but you might need physical therapy. That also happens too, correct?
And you'd be surprised how many times that people came to us and thought they're going to end up in shoulder surgery. And they may. Some end up, having to have surgery. But there's a lot of times with like a partial rotator cuff tear or some injuries that we can strengthen muscle groups up and actually keep them from having to have surgery.
Sure.
So,
Some are necessary. There's just no way around that. But others, very classic example. I remember my dad fell a long time. Well, I say a long time ago, about 15 years ago. Fell on his shoulder. He was working at my brother's restaurant and stepped on a bread tray. Out he went, fell on his shoulder. Went to the doctor. Doctor said, "Well, you're going to need surgery." My dad said, "Okay." He goes, well, how high can you lift it now? My dad got, about 50%. And so my dad, not to just go under the knife because somebody said so. He said, "So what if I do rehab without surgery? How much strength am I going to get back?" About 80%. So he goes, "Okay, so what am I going to do if I get surgery?" He said, "About 85%. So why would I get surgery?" So my dad actually went to the rehab way, got 95% back without ever having to undergo the knife, because it's not a perfect science. You look at that shoulder, you don't know how much strength you actually can get put back in there. And like you said, maybe, and after he did that, maybe he wasn't getting any stronger. Maybe surgery would have to be the answer. But it didn't happen. So, like you're saying,
I always choose the non-invasive approach first.
why wouldn't you?
So,
why wouldn't you do that? Unless absolutely, if you've tore your rotator cuff and you can't pick up anything and you have no strength left, there's nothing in there. Why would somebody like to go underneath the knife without even trying first? Wouldn't you?
there's a lot of things that show that we've been able to help with pain and movement. And like you said, a lot of times if somebody falls and it hurts, we don't move it. And with the shoulder, it's very common that it'll freeze up.
Oh, yeah.
And then that creates that cycle of pain and that tightness. And so as we work through those frozen shoulders and that stiffness of that capsule around the shoulder joint, we can get great function back for people. So
You just, and one of the things, Gina, you just have to believe that, okay, I know the first time that happens and you're going to work with somebody, it's going to hurt. There's going to be pain. Obviously, if you kept your shoulder stiff for a long time and you go to move it, you're using muscles you haven't used in a while.
But if you do it correctly,
right,
it should be minimal.
Right, but there's going to be a little pain. You just can't sit there and say, "Well, I don't want to feel any pain." Well, I can't quite do that because your shoulder hasn't moved and you haven't done it in 3 months. You're going to have a little scar tissue in there possibly, and you're going to have to maneuver that around. But like what you guys do is you guys do this in stages, slowly move it, keep strengthening over time, not just trying to get it all done in one day.
Right.
Because a lot of people would have that kind of injury would just go out there and say, "You know what? I think I'll go lift weights today because I think I'm feeling stronger." Then as soon as they start doing that first one or two, shoulder starts to hurt. They're going to stop, and then they won't do anything.
One of the things that
it could hurt or worse.
You're exactly right. One of the things that we're starting, and it's kind of in its infant stage right now,
Okay.
but we're working with the school system, and we're starting a sports medicine program. We're, several departments through the hospital. Jason, the dietitian, we're working with these kids to take better care of themselves and educate themselves early on, and that when they do get injured, that they get the proper progression of care. It's not, you hurt your ankle and we tape it so tight that you can't have circulation to your toes and get back out there. We want to help where we can to prevent further injuries, to prevent injuries to begin with, but just to get that access to those student athletes, and that we can. It's a good thing. There's lots of sports that Salem is very strong in, and of course, we don't want anybody to be, unable to play, but we want them to graduate high school with a body still intact and a brain still intact. There's a lot with concussion management and things that, that we have a part in, that we can definitely make a difference. So, keep your eyes out. There's good things, still growth to come from us. And, we have that desire to provide what the community needs and help educate where we can and help people with their function.
Absolutely, and you guys have done a tremendous job, and we just want to continue to tip our cap to you. Physical Therapy Month is this month, and so we do want to salute everybody in your department because they do a tremendous job. And as you're saying, you guys are getting involved in so many different things. If people learn early, like you're talking about these students, how to care for your body, it will prevent injuries in the long run over years, because once they realize there's a protocol to follow, it's not just, oh, yeah, I'll just tape that up and go out there. Okay, we do this, we do this, we do this, we check this, we do this, we do this, just to make sure that everything is right before they get back out there. And that's a great educational tool. You talked about early, Gina, education. And it really is education for the patient to really find out how to take care of themselves.
There's not many people as we all get older that don't tell me, oh boy, I wish I had taken better care of my body in my 20s, or that worked hard and are hard on their body as they through their working years.
Exactly.
And I just think what difference can we make if we're in early and can help people learn those better ways to care for their body, so that they can move around a little easier when they're in those later years. So.
It used to be the old adage, and my mom told me this a long time ago when I started playing ice hockey when I was a teenager. She says, you're going to get injured. Yeah, well, you're getting bruises and you get hit all the time and stuff like that. And I said, yeah. She goes, you probably know you're not going to be able to have, your knees will be shot by the time you're 50. Well, it took a little longer than that, but they're not shot. They just have some arthritis. And the same thing with the elbows from playing baseball and stuff. But when I look back at it, this may happen. You'd stop doing it back then and not live a life and just sit there and constantly be cautious about every single thing in the world, or you get out there and live a little bit, find out, and as you're saying, there's people out there like yourself in your department that when you get older and those pains start coming up, that there's help out there to get over that pain. There's just a philosophy difference now from 50 years ago to today that, you only live once. You want to sit on the sidelines and watch? Oh, that's your choice. If you want to play, play. Whether you and I say that in a form of play being, if you want to work hard, go work hard. If you want to play hard, go play hard. Go do whatever you want to do hard. See, some people love gardening. They love to garden. They'll garden 10, 12, 14 hours a day. That's hard on your knees and your back. That doesn't mean you're going to give it up because, okay, well, I don't want to garden because, I got to bend over. I got to do. You guys are there. This is what's so neat about it. You don't fear getting old anymore and having those neck pains, the back pains, the knee pains, the elbow pains, because there's a physical therapy unit that is here. If you need them, you guys are there to make you feel better.
We are.
And that's the neat thing about what we have here at the Salem Hospital. Again, we want to remind everybody, if you do have any kind of surgery or anything out of town, and you want to have your physical therapy done here, or your therapy's done here in
Or
Salem.
any services at the hospital.
Exactly. You can get that done. As Gina was mentioning, swing bed program. You can ask to be sent back to Salem for your physical therapy.
Home health is the same
Exactly.
way. Outpatient services are the same way.
Yeah, some hospitals don't mention that to you after they give you this, or if they do, they kind of wait till you're under the anesthesia to see if you respond, and you usually don't. Hopefully, you don't.
But it is,
But it's your choice.
It is our choice, and it is great. I mean, it's perfect to say, "Hey, I know that." Our hometown hospital has a home health agency, or they have an outpatient therapy clinic. Can I do it with them versus having to drive back up here?
2 hours to St. Louis and then drive back. That's a long time.
Right.
And you get there, you're not going to go right in. They're not sitting there waiting for you to come in. Trust me, you'll wait, and then it might end up being an 8-hour day for you to go get one thing done.
And as we get older, that is a lot harder on people. And so they tend not to get the care they need because it is a burden, to spend that whole day in travel or financially as well. So,
well, again, we want to tip our cap to you. If anybody has any questions about Physical Therapy Month, can they give you a call?
You bet. Just call out to the hospital, and the therapy extension is 5620, or just ask the operator to transfer you back to the therapy services, and they'll get you taken care of.
Fantastic. You guys do a tremendous job. I continue the good hard work. Continue growing, Gina. We look forward to that in our hospital, right here in our spotlight on the Salem Memorial District Hospital. Gina Daniels, thank you, dear.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
you coming in.
much for the opportunity.